Guys, welcome back to the Lifted podcast. We have Sara here. So Sara is an online coach. I stalked her on Instagram like usual. I also just want to say we're recovering from Stampede. If you guys don't know what Stampede is, it is this big festival in Calgary. It's like, 10 days or something? Mm-hmm. I was sick. You were sick. So if we sound a little bit sick, we fucking were, okay? Anyways, welcome to the Lifted podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. You have no idea how excited I am.
I'm excited, honestly. I want to say this first. You wrote in your journal that you wanted to be on a podcast before we met for the podcast.
I did. It's actually insane. So the morning that you messaged me asking me to be on your podcast, literally 30 minutes before that, I had written in my manifestation journal that I write in every single morning. And I'd never written about this before, but I decided I really want to be a guest on someone's podcast. And then you reached out, and here we are.
And here we are on the podcast. Cool. So you have been sober for how long?
So I've been sober for almost 2 years now. 2 years in October.
Good for you.
Thank you so much.
So tell us what you were addicted to and for how long.
Okay, so mostly I was addicted to cocaine. I took cocaine for the first time when I was, I think, 19. And I did it all the way up to 27 when I finally got sober. I mean, that was my main drug of choice, but I took all kinds of things.
All kinds.
All kinds.
I feel like when that's what you're doing and you're partying and everything, stuff just gets involved.
Oh, girl, absolutely. I mean, there was times where it was just like, the whole spice cupboard of drugs.
Spice cupboard?
Like, you name it, honestly. Mostly the party drugs. I was never really into the downers. I never played around with pills or anything because I don't know why. I just kind of always felt like those were like, I should never, those are so addictive, right? But yeah, Molly, Coke, GHB. Do you know what GHB is?
I don't. Tell me.
So tell me. So GHB is the date rape drug. And I know often you hear of women getting date raped, but you don't often hear of people intentionally taking it.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
So wait, what's that like?
So I don't want to glamorize it, but basically it's like a liquid that you drink. And you just take like a little cap of it, and it just makes you feel super euphoric and drunk, and like it's a party drug for sure. But it's banned in a lot of, it's very much like frowned upon, I should say, in places like Australia. So when I was in Australia, I remember like that was the drug that was like, if you do that, like that's the worst thing you could possibly do. There's posters all over the nightclub because it is so lethal.
Wow. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Like,
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about just how you grew up. Like, how were you when you were growing up?
Yeah, so super crazy. A lot of people would never guess it. I was extremely shy when I was young. I grew up very anxious, very depressed, very insecure. I really didn't love myself. I really, really struggled, and I kind of just thought that was the way I was. Depression and anxiety run in my family, and that was kind of the narrative that I used to tell myself. So depression runs in my family. This is just the way I am. I'll always feel this way. And yeah, even I was just so shy. I didn't really have friends in high school. I really, really struggled with like my image. I was a late bloomer, so I like didn't even get my period till I was like 18.
18?
Yeah.
What?
I like didn't have boobs till like grade 12. Like, like legit though. Like, this is so funny, but for like 2 years there, I literally was like, am I a man?
Oh
like
my
legit
God.
though. I remember I used to like actually be scared. Like I would be like, am I a dude? Because, like, where's the period at?
You're like, no dick, but I could be a dude.
But I thought, like, maybe there's one inside me. You never know.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah.
So good.
Finally, at 18, got my period. Like, didn't lose my virginity till I was, like, 19. So I was just, like, a very sheltered, like, shy, insecure. I was super underweight, not because I was, like, under eating, but just because I was a really small little girl. I think in grade 8, I was, like, I'd say, like, 80 pounds. Like, I was really, really small. I was, like, the size of, you know, a 8-year-old. So I really, really struggled because I felt like boys never liked me. And, yeah, I didn't have a lot of self-love when I was in high school.
Oh, you know what? Like, high school was always the time. Like, I feel like we spent so much time thinking like we need this attention from guys, especially in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so So, okay, tell me when the drugs started. They started when you were 19, you said.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of take me to that time.
Yeah, so kind of like the shyness, I kind of started to, you know, when I like hit puberty, started to, you know, boys started to kind of pay attention to me. Started to kind of like grow into myself, gain a little bit of confidence. I started doing things that scared me, and I just like my confidence snowballed. So when I was 18, I booked a one-way ticket to Europe. And I came home from Europe, and my parents were like, what happened to you? Like, you're this confident, like, happy, you know, beautiful woman. And when you left, you were this, like, insecure little girl. So came back from Europe and literally just turned into a wild child. Like, so I met a guy at a rave, and this is when I had kind of just started. I had, like, you know, tried Molly a few times, started going to music festivals and, like, trying different drugs. I think I had tried cocaine, like, once or twice. And I started dating this guy, and he was a drug dealer. So we always had drugs in our sock drawer. And it kind of turned into like an every weekend thing. So this is when I started to feel like I'm fun, I belong, people love me when I'm partying. I actually feel, you know, confident and sexy and funny. So that's kind of where the addiction started. And yeah, so even, you know, we'd be watching The Bachelor drinking wine, and we'd be doing lines. Like,
oh my God.
So yeah, and then it just kind of started snowballing from there. It went from once every few weekends to every single weekend to, before you know it, I was doing it like four to 5 times a week.
Wow. But I mean, when it's available, you're like, yeah, why wouldn't I do it while I'm
absolutely.
watching The Bachelor? Are you kidding?
Right? Yeah, so it just, yeah, it really started to get crazy. I still remember my very last bender I ever went on. And I would stay up for like 3 days at a time.
Oh my God. I feel like I genuinely wouldn't even be a person at that point. I'd be like,
oh, you're not. You're a gremlin.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was all fun and games at the start, you know, like when I was 19, 20, you know, go to the bar, do a couple lines. And then throughout the years, it just kind of escalated, you know, you'd stay up one day longer. Eventually I would start going out, and I like couldn't drink without it. So there was one time in particular, actually, I went to the Flume concert in Vancouver with my friends, and the night before the concert, I got way too fucked up and didn't even make it to Flume because I know, I was so sad. But that was one of the last straws because we all went out the night before. My friends all stayed at the bar, and I left to go find drugs. So it got to the point where I was just, you know, I was kind of, it wasn't fun and games anymore.
Yeah.
It started to get a little more serious. I remember times being so high at like 7 a.m. and calling my dad and being like, Dad, I'm so high. I'm so anxious. I don't know what to do. Calling my brothers and doing the same thing. I'm so high. I'm so anxious. I don't know what to do. But I kept doing it to myself.
So what did they think? Like,
They were super supportive, but they were really, really worried about me. That last bender that I was talking about, I still remember, it's not even fun by day 3, obviously. I remember sitting in my backyard with my friend. We were the only ones left from the party. Everyone else was smart and went home. Oh, I need water. I'm gonna cough.
yo, I told you guys we're all sick.
Brutal. I'm like trying to hold it in.
Sweat it out.
Forehead vein popping. Like. Yeah, so I remember being in my backyard with my one friend after our bender, and we had been up for 3 days, and we were just like, well, we might as well just keep it going. Like, we don't want to face reality. So we got more drugs. We poured beer into shaker cups and went on a hike and just kept it going. And I just remember that point, I was just like, what am I doing? And that was the very last bender I ever went on.
Whoa.
Yeah, I actually have memories, this is kind of funny, of it being day 3 of the bender, and we're literally boiling pots. I can't even say it. We're boiling pots of water so that we can put our faces over it to clear our sinuses.
Oh my God.
Like, that's
So,
just brutal, man.
Okay, so like you went on a bender, say it's day 3. Like, where's your head at? Do you want to keep going? Are you like,
No.
I need to go back to bed? Like, where are you at?
You don't want to keep going, but you have to keep going because you know how shitty you're going to feel when you come down.
Right.
So, and that's the horrible reality of it. It's just, you're not stoked on life by day 3.
Yeah.
You feel like an absolute gremlin, and you know that as soon as you come down, you have to face reality again.
And it's worse because you're on a come down.
And it's
so
worse 'cause you're on
reality
a
is
come
just reality times. Reality already sucks.
You're
So
right.
like you're already like, I don't even want to be in this. Like, oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah, I started calling in sick near the end of my little run there. I shouldn't say little run, my long run. Started calling sick in sick to work. I thought I was going to lose my job. Yeah, it was just, shit was getting real bad by the end of it. It wasn't funny or fun anymore.
Wow. And so you also told me that you've overdosed twice.
I have.
Tell me about the first one. What
Yeah,
happened?
so the first one actually wasn't anything crazy. I mean, obviously I overdosed, so it's
Yeah, I'm like, wait. Crazy. It is crazy.
So
no, I'm so
super
interested.
weird. Like, I don't really remember it. I remember waking up in the hospital with an IV in my arm. And at that point, I was like 22 or 23, I think. And I was just like, oh, like, I'm good. And then I just remember going to the beach that day and like just partying again.
Whoa. So
I know.
you weren't even phased.
No, I was not phased at all. I was just like, this is fine. I survived.
Did the doctors or like the hospital, did they say anything?
No.
Like, were they, really?
No, they're just like, hey, you're free to go.
Fuck off. Oh my God.
Well, and, like,
no way.
the IV made me feel so good. So I was like, hangover gone.
Yeah, you're like, let me just do that again.
Well, yeah. And that was the thing. Like, I never learned from my mistakes. So my second overdose was actually where it got really bad. So it was New Year's Eve in 2017. And I was 22 years old. And GHB, date rape drug. I guess I took too much at the nightclub. And I don't even remember, but I guess I was found on the bathroom floor. And luckily, the police were doing a bathroom check at that point. And if they hadn't found me, I would have been dead. I didn't have any oxygen, and I didn't have a pulse, so I was actually dead. And yeah, the police came in at the right time. They called an ambulance right away. the ambulance gave me naloxone shots because they thought maybe it was, what's that?
I learned about this in
Why can't I
first
think-
aid like 6
Why
months
can't
ago.
I think of the name? I don't know. Anyway, they gave me 2 naloxone shots, and that didn't work, so they knew it wasn't that. So then they like fully revived me. I don't know what they did because I was out, but yeah, and I was like fully wrapped in plastic. Everyone in the nightclub, I'm from a small town, so like everyone was crowded around. This is like the one nightclub in my hometown. It was New Year's Eve. Everyone was there. Everyone was crowded around like my dead body, and the ambulance rushed me to the hospital. And I guess all my friends like ran up. They ran up to the hospital, and everyone was like crowded around me. The nurses let my friends come in, and they were like crying over my body because like they didn't know if I was gonna live. And it was crazy. So I was obviously out for all of this, and then I woke up the next morning with my parents at the foot of my hospital bed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let the girl have some water after that story. No way.
Yeah, so woke up with my parents at the foot of my hospital bed, and my parents aren't together anymore. They were like, we thought the next time we would see each other would be like at your wedding, but then like we were sitting right at the end of the bed where your dead body was. So yeah, and then of course my mom was like, someone must have put something in her drink. Like, my daughter wouldn't, like, do that. Because my mom didn't really know that how heavy I was into drugs.
Well, yeah, you're not going to be like, Mom, this is what I'm doing every single weekend.
Yeah, right? Like cocaine again. So, yeah. And then my mom said that to the nurse. Someone must have put something in her drink. And the nurse said, actually, she just had an overdose a couple months ago. This is the second time this has happened. Yeah. So that was probably one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. This is not good. I can't stop coughing.
No, you're so good. We also have cough candies if you want one.
That might help. We have them. My throat's like so tickly.
So, okay. So you're in the hospital. Your mom and dad are there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'll have one.
Oh, this sickness is killing me. The tickle is there.
The relief.
Instant relief. We're both just dying over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should be sponsored.
Sponsored by Ricola.
I'm keeping this in the podcast just so you guys know how awful Stampede can be.
Oh my God.
Okay, so you're in the hospital. Your parents are there. You just overdosed second time, and they told them. So was this a time when you were like, okay, I should quit, or did you go back into it?
Went back into it again.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I think I took a couple months off. I remember my dad pulled me into the basement and was like, Sarah, like, what are you doing? And I just remember telling him, I just love getting fucked up.
I mean, you've overdosed twice, but tell us your craziest, like, party stories. Because I want to know.
Okay. Craziest party stories.
Because, wait, so from 19 to 27?
Crunching on a cough candy.
It's fine. I feel like I need to take mine out. Is that weird?
Why do you need to take it out?
Because it's gonna like hit my teeth and be noisy.
Yeah, I'm just like... Okay, crazy party stories.
Yeah, because we've already gone through, we know you're addicted. 19 to 27. From 19 to 27, there must be some crazy shit.
Well, the first crazy trip that I ever went on was when I went to Thailand. And
Thailand is really good for like, they have crazy, isn't there like a full moon party
Oh,
and shit?
yeah.
Like they just have like the craziest.
dude, it's wild.
Yeah.
So I went to Thailand when I was 21. And I got a vagina tattoo.
What does it say?
It says Andy.
Love that. What? Why? Why?
That's a story for another time.
Next, part 2.
Yeah, that was a wild one. I mean, girl, shit got crazy. Like, we used to go to my friend's farm and literally just like take all of the drugs and just like have orgies all the time.
In Thailand.
No, this is at my friend's house in my hometown.
Oh shit. Okay.
Like, my group of friends was absolutely buck wild, dude. So I went from being like this shy, insecure little girl who didn't lose her virginity till she was 19 to this wild child throughout my 20s.
Yeah. Having orgies and shit.
Having orgies and shit. But you know what? I don't regret any of it I don't regret any of that stuff. Not even the overdoses. Because I really I'm so in love with the person I am today. I'm so proud of the person I am today. And I truly would not be her if it weren't for all of the stuff, all of the things that I've been through. The drugs, the insecurity, the overdoses, feeling like I didn't want to be me. I wanted to be someone else when I was in high school. But if I had never felt that way, I would have never felt the push to really, really work on myself and fall in love with myself.
Yeah, and also you're coming from high school being super fucking shy, just super anxious, not developing till 18, like not even losing your virginity, everything. To, yeah, you maybe had a wild 20s, but at the same time, like, you're right. If you didn't do all that, first of all, you built so much confidence. Second, you've had so many experiences that maybe you wouldn't have had before. And third, I honestly feel like the more people you're around, the more experience you have in everything. I actually think it just makes you better off in life. It's just like people that travel a lot because they've met so many people, they've done so many things, they've, so much. It's like you're almost set up for, like, you've experienced shit,
Totally.
So and
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what traveling really did for me. Like, I traveled all throughout my 20s as well. And that was a lot of wild partying too. But that built a lot of confidence too. Like, if I could give anyone advice who doesn't love themselves or is really struggling to love themselves, I know it sounds like cheesy, but you need to go find yourself and you need to go travel, because traveling is what made me fall in love with myself and my life.
So where all have you been? Thailand?
Been, like, all over the world, man. Like, yeah, Thailand, Philippines. I've been to like 30 plus countries.
Oh my God, I love that.
So actually, that brings me to my next kind of little story. When I first got sober, I had actually already booked a trip to Central America. But I had booked the trip with the intention of, there's going to be good cocaine down there. So we're going to go party hard. I got sober before the trip, and I had a bit of a like the sobriety wasn't really planned. I wasn't like, I'm never drinking again. The sobriety was, I'm going to take a month off because we're partying a bit too hard. I'm going to take another month off because I feel really good. Wow, we're at 3 months now. And that's kind of how my sobriety has gone. It was never like, I'm going to be sober forever. I still never say that. Even though I truly believe I will be. But I just take it day by day, month by month. Anyway, I was 2 months sober and I was about to leave for Central America. And I was like, how am I going to do this? I'm going to the cocaine capital of the world and I'm 2 months sober. So that was a very big confidence builder for me, because I went and I stayed sober And I fell in love with sobriety because I was living life authentically, and I realized life was so beautiful without the highs from drugs and alcohol. And sobriety is literally the best high I've ever felt in my life.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
So when you went, because you're like, okay, I'm kind of planning this whole trip around cocaine.
Yeah.
When you went, like before you went, were you like, I have to find other shit to do to keep my mind busy? Or did you just kind of go into it like, I'm just going to see what happens?
I kind of just went into it like, I'm just going to see what happens. But I was so nervous that I was going to relapse because I was at that point where I really never wanted to feel the feeling of a come down again. Like I was so over it. I was so sick of the anxiety, the calling in sick to work. I was just so sick of my shit that I was like, if I relapse, man, I don't know what I'll do.
So for anyone that's watching or listening to this podcast that maybe has never tried hard drugs and doesn't know what a come down is, can you just explain it?
Oh man, it's the worst thing ever. So pretty much you have a base level like this, how you always normally feel, happy, you feel good. When you're on drugs, it's up here. But what goes up must come down. So when you're up here and the drugs wear off, you end up down here. And everything in your life feels like it's crashing down. You start to question everything. You start to question what you're doing with your life. You start to it's the worst feeling you'll ever feel. Anxiety attacks, panic attacks. With cocaine, you're laying in bed. You can't sleep. You're alone with your thoughts. There was mornings where it would be 6 a.m. The birds would be chirping, and I'm like just laying there trying to sleep. Like, just the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Well, and so you've now got to come down. Mm-hmm. And then you're basically just waiting for your next high because you're like, fuck, my life sucks.
Totally. And that's exactly how you fall into the cycle because you finally start to feel normal again, and then you start to dream about that euphoria. Like, oh, I can't wait to feel that way again. I actually remember a friend warning me when I was like in grade 11. I remember him saying, I tried Molly for the first time. And I was like, what was it like? And he was like, don't ever do it because it's the best feeling you'll ever feel.
You're like, well, now I'm trying it this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and he was right. Like,
yeah,
obviously drugs give you euphoria, but that's the thing. Like with sobriety, after a couple months, you obviously feel really good. But once you've been off the drugs for like over a year, it's like this euphoria that you've never felt before. Like, it's just unreal the way you feel.
Yeah. So if anyone is listening to this or watching this podcast, what advice would you give them just if they're maybe experiencing that, maybe they are feeling addicted? I know that a lot of people, even in my like university days, when I'm thinking about it, like, I mean, let's be real, like since high school, I was probably addicted to alcohol. I was always waiting to drink. I was always like, I just want to drink. Like, that's all I wanted to do all the time. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're like addicted. But anyone that's kind of in that situation, I mean, there could be a lot of people that are addicted that are listening. You never know. What advice would you give them if they're in that space?
So definitely sobriety is something that you need to be patient with. It's never a one shot and you're good. I mean, I know I got really, really frustrated, but it's one of those things like you just need to be able to get back up after every single knockdown because you need to keep learning that lesson over and over again. And like I said, I would never set too big of a goal. And I would never say, I'm never going to drink again, because that's like telling a kid that it can never have cake again. They're just going to want it more. So you need to take it day by day. Take it one day at a time and tell yourself, I don't need to drink today. And then you rinse and repeat tomorrow. And that's what I still do every single day.
So just one day at a time.
One day at a time, man.
I love that.
You're going to scare yourself if you're like, I'm never going to drink again. And then you're like, but what about my wedding? What about my 60th birthday party?
Yeah. And then it's like if you end up drinking, whatever.
Exactly.
like it's not a big deal. It's just like I feel like that like is so much like nutrition. Everyone's like, oh my god, well I can't eat cookies anymore, and then you fucking want the cookie.
So true.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I actually like that approach because I feel like a lot of people, I've actually had a lot of, I always bring up TikToks because I watch so many TikToks in my podcast, but I've seen people on TikTok be like, oh, like I've been sober for this many years and like, you know, I'm never going to do this again and I'm never going to do this. And it's like they've got this huge following that's also following because they don't want to drink or they don't want to do this. And like, I think it's so rigid, like the way that they're thinking of it is so strict.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so toxic because you know, like it's really hard to, it's like a restrictive mindset. Like you're just going to want to do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, maybe I will one day. I mean, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't add value to my life. It doesn't even make me happy. Like, life is just so good without it. And when I tell people, like, who are sober curious, it's just like, just wait until you feel it, man. Like, it's literally the best drug. Like, sobriety is the best drug. You're on this, like, next level of mindset and clarity and self-love and love for life. And ever since the day I got sober, my life has just taken a 180. And it's just, I could not be happier.
Oh, that's cool. I love that. Well, is there anything else that you want to say? Any last words?
Any last words? I don't think so.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
So good. Even though we were both dying the whole time, just like holding in our coughs.
So hard not to cough.
I will have all of Sarah's socials in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening, whatever you're doing. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on all the platforms. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.